Hey guys, thanks for joining my channel here. Quick video here on winterizing this John Deere LX176 model. I've had this mower for 2 seasons now, and a little bit of history about this. I got this with the house purchase, so had this. This is my second mowing season that I'm completing using this mower. When I first got it, I had to replace a whole bunch of parts: carb cleaning, new battery, new filters, fuel filter, oil filter, air filter. And then I also replaced a couple parts underneath. I did new belts, and I got new blades, I sharpened those. And then I also, took apart the carb and cleaned that as well. So new spark plug, I don't know if I mentioned that. But that's pretty much what I did to take care of it. It's been a great machine. It's 31 years old. It's been operating great for me. Haven't really had any issues with it. The only issue I have is it does take a little bit longer to start. But it usually is resolved with some starting fluid, so that works pretty good. But now that I'm going to be winterizing it, I wanted to show you some of the steps that I do to take care of it. It sounds simple and redundant, but you want to keep it clean. Okay, so I take my air compressor and I blow off all the components here, especially down in the engine compartments. And then the leaf blower, I use that as well, especially underneath here where there's big clumps of grass. You want to remove all that and clean the bottom of the deck really well. There's different, this is really old, so I'm not going to, but there's different spray lubricants that you can use to kind of clean that to maintain it, and also for the top of the deck too. So that's something you want to do. Some people like to take the belt tensioner off and loosen that for storage. I've never done that, but it doesn't seem like it would be a bad idea. Another thing to think about is when you're obviously when you're storing this for winter and it's not getting used, some of those parts don't get lubricated as they're not being used, especially the axle shafts and the blade spindles underneath. So I'm going to take those off, sharpen the blades, and grease up those specific points, especially here with these wheels as well. Now to do that, you can use some white lithium grease or some just regular all-purpose grease. I got that cheap at Walmart, $5-6 or Amazon, whatever. Or if you don't have that, you can also use some spray grease. There's some red tacky grease you can get. There's also the spray version of that, or you can just use some heavy-duty silicone just to lube up those parts. So I'm also going to take the wheel off here. I'm going to jack this up and take this off, and then really grease up those points as well. That's just something that I like to do. You don't have to, but if you want to make sure it's maintained well, check the tires, because of course with temperature drops, the PSI is going to drop as well. So you want to make sure those tires are always going to be at operating performance. So when you're ready to use them, they're ready to go. Other than that, last couple things I check for, you want to do a fresh filter change on this. So you want to do a fresh oil change. If you want to check the fuel filter, that'd be a good time to replace it. Oil filter, and then the spark plug here as well. So some people like to put some fogging oil inside the carburetor, which actually you can spray in there and then start the engine, let it run out until you see some smoke. That actually protects some of the internal components of the engine, just to make sure that there's no wear, or just keeps it maintained to prevent corrosion, things like that. So you could do that. And then as far as the air filter itself, so you don't need to replace this if it's not that bad. You can typically just take your air compressor and blow it off really well, which is what I've done the last 2 times, and it still looks pretty good. So depending on that, I'll clean the housing, take that apart underneath here, and then the screws that go into the carburetor itself. Some people also like to replace the seal on the carburetor. Different things you can do. And then of course, last 2 things is the battery. So the battery is really important. I got this battery new in June of 22, and it's been working well for me, no issues with it. But a couple things you can do. If you don't have a battery charger, like a trickle charger or like a maintainer, just to keep this thing running and keeping it, charged at optimal levels throughout the winter, what you can do is, you could always take it off and store it in a cool, dry place in like a basement. You just don't want to store it directly on the ground. Maybe keep it up on a shelf or something like that. But what you could do if you don't have one of those options, you can always come out here every week or so in the wintertime and just start the engine. Just start it, let that battery charge up, let some of that fuel keep working. I think I did that last year and it worked well for me. I just typically just drove it a little bit down here just so that everything's working and maintained and lubricated. So those are some options that you can do when it comes to the battery. I think those battery chargers, they can get kind of pricey, but that's another option for you. So last thing to consider, what you want to do is for the fuel, I like to run the seafoam through it. You can use Lucas oil products or just any kind of gum out product to put inside the storage tank, or the fuel tank, I should say, for the last couple mows of the season. So I think I have maybe 1 or 2 mows to go. I like to run this stuff through it. It does a really good job of cleaning it, especially it's an older model, so I want to make this thing, maintain the best I possibly can. And it's really cheap too. It's only a couple bucks. But also, when you're going to be storing this for winter, this stuff works wonders. This Stable brand fuel storage stabilizer. So only 1 ounce of this treats, up to 2.5 gallons. So it does a really good job, but you really want to keep this tank full as possible, just to prevent any kind of condensation that builds up or water moisture that builds up inside the fuel tank. So that stuff works really well. Fresh fuel, of course, when you're gonna do that. And then people don't think about this too, but I like to keep this cap clean because this can build up some moisture and condensation too. So just something to think about when you're storing it for winter. You wanna make sure that obviously when that carburetor doesn't get any kind of moisture in it, it can kind of gum it up a little bit and cause some problems. But those are the steps that I do to maintain my mower throughout the season. So hope you found this helpful and useful. Stay tuned for more videos. Thanks for watching.